Real curious to hear the backstory, Mike, on the 10 years of not dating, and then how it all came apart and how you put it all back together.
All right, I'm going to try to put it into a nutshell story for you. It's kind of like it's really like a bad rom-com at the end of the day. Rewind 10 years, met my ex-wife, at the time ex-wife, went on to date. We were both musicians. We had a band together. We met in school, met in college for music. It was like this match made in heaven type of thing. Went on eventually 5, 6 years later, got married. And then 3 years after that, cheated on, divorced. So if I rewind back, actually, I'll start at the end and bring it back to the beginning, almost like Fight Club, if you ever seen that movie. But,
Oh,
so
phenomenal. One of my favorites.
yeah, so cheated on, divorced, ended up with a backstabbing friend that I went to high school with, that knew him for 20 years. I introduced them, never was worried or thought anything about that situation. And it's I make some content on that.
Oh my God.
Follow your gut and all that. Ironically, same guy I was actually going to and venting to and talking to, like, man to man, about like, oh man, I think my marriage is kind of like failing right now, like this and that. And yeah, backstab pretty bad there.
Oh, he's wolfing sheep's clothing your ass.
Yeah, so bad, so badly. But
so he would be like, if this is the Fight Club movie, he would be Jack when he always says, "I am Jack's liver."
Pretty much, yeah.
So he's Jack. He's Jack. He's Jack Stabber.
Yeah. Hey, I like that, Jack Stabber. Yes.
There you go.
So pretty much fast forward. I mean, things were great for about 7 years, and one of the biggest things I learned is that your track record does not count. So a woman does not care about how good you were for the last 7 years, 8 years, 9 years. She cares about right now, and if things change for her emotionally, they're going to change for you too. So never drop the ball. We'll get into that, I'm sure, but basically, eventually, I felt like something was wrong. She wanted a break. At some point, she said, "I think we should take a break." Felt like that was weird, because when you're married or in a long-term relationship, you don't take a break, you work things out, So at the time, I wasn't as knowledgeable as I am now, so I ended up agreeing to the break. And within like a week, I was like, "What am I doing? Like, I just want to get a divorce, But she freaked out and was like, "Oh no! Like, what? Will you agree to a break? Let's do that." And so I just kind of, in my mind, I was checking out already, because I was like, you know what? I like woke up and almost like an epiphany. Like, what kind of guy wants to sit and wait around to find out if his wife still wants to be his wife or not? I was like, I don't deserve that shit. So I realized that, and then moving forward, but at the end, right? So I asked her before, and I'm like, "Listen, it feels like there's someone else. Is there someone else?" I asked a few times. I was like, "It's okay if there is. I would rather you just be honest, and we'll call this quits, go our separate ways." They don't like to hear that, though. It's like they don't want the truth. They'd rather have one foot out the door and ready with the other guy, and then they want you to be Mr. Dependable. They come back to you if it doesn't work out with them. So I didn't want to fall for that shit. What then happened was, at the end of the month, we met up, and in my mind, I was already done also, and we agreed to a divorce and all that stuff. At the time, my assets were more of my concern. I was like, all right, well, I don't want to lose half my shit right now. A day later, this is where it turns into a bad rom-com. A day later, after we'd agree on divorce, I get a message from this girl on Instagram, this hot blonde girl. And I was just like, who the hell is this? Normally, I don't accept requests from people I didn't know, but I was like, well, I'm single now. Who's this? I accept the request. I noticed that her picture is married too. So I'm like, all these girls just cheating? Like, what's the deal? She sends me screenshots then of conversations between her husband and my ex-wife, and says,
Nice.
I don't know you, but I know your wife. And I think my husband and your wife have been talking to each other behind our backs for like a year. I'm like, whew, that, I don't know if that's ever happened to anybody. When you find out, when you get that hardcore proof of cheating, when you see your girl's number as the number that's in the messages, you're like, is this photoshopped? Is this fucking real life? Like, so
Yeah.
she didn't even end up with that guy. Like I said, she ended up with, one of my friends, quote unquote, obviously not a friend anymore, or never really was. So then I ended up going, that blonde, I was like, is this real? Is this spam? Like, what's happening here? We ended up talking on the phone, and I could hear the pain in her voice, and I felt so terrible. I could tell this was real, and really sucked, but it did give me some closure on the scenario. Like, oh shit, my gut and intuition was right, the whole time. So she was like, "Do you want to meet up and talk about this?" And I was like, "Okay." And at the time, my intention was fully just, meet up and talk. She looked as good in person as she did in those pictures. One thing led to another, trading spouses. I didn't end up with her in not the first day, that was more of a pain conversation, but obviously there was at least 60% revenge in there, and maybe 40% of like, okay, you're kind of cool person. First new girl after 9, 10 years, though. I forgot how sweet that could be.
I gotta, dude, I've always wondered this.